It sounds like AEW president and founder Tony Khan has confirmed that AEW will be staying with WBD and that their television and media rights deal is confirmed to be happening and be announced soon. We're going to talk about this major update, what exactly Tony had to say. Also, we're going to get into the Cody Rhodes WWE lawsuit that was filed against them over the American Nightmare trademark. Will Cody be forced to change his nickname? We're going to talk about it. We're also going to talk about news of a brand new WWE show set to come this winter. All that much more right here in this video. Be sure to smash that like button, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you get notified whenever a new video is released. Okay, first things first, let's talk about the AEW WBD media rights deal, something we have covered extensively on this channel, and something that seems to be coming to a head. This according to AEW president and founder Tony Khan, who on this week's All Out media call said the following, essentially confirming that the deal is happening soon. Here it is. Here is Khan on the media call. It's a really exciting time for AEW. We are having great conversations. There have been a lot of reports, and a lot of them have been pretty accurate about the status of the media deal between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery being something that has been a productive and ongoing conversation that we're still working on. There are a lot of details. You mentioned the future of the TV deal, which is something we all want. AEW on TBS and TNT. It's great to be wanted by TBS and TNT. I feel very fortunate that after being here for 5 years, there's still a great appetite and desire to keep AEW on TBS and TNT. It's a mutual thing. We love Warner Brothers Discovery. Going into the next quote, he says, "We're still working through the details of the agreement, which is a very long and tedious process, but a good process to do. It can be long to figure out contract for one person, one player, one athlete. Imagine an entire league doing an agreement for all of our events and all exciting things we're working on. There are some exciting things to come without revealing anything that would jeopardize our company or the great status of everything we're working on. There's a lot of excitement on each side." And he finished up by saying, quote, "Without getting into the future of streaming, I acknowledge there have been a lot of good conversations between AEW and Warner Brothers Discovery. There are a lot of things to be worked out, but it's a great time for AEW. This is going to work out really well for AEW and our fans." And the other tidbit from that media call that Tony Khan did say is that he believes that AEW is set to become the second most profitable wrestling company in history, citing that he doesn't know exactly how much WCW made in 1997 and 1999, but he thinks he's going to be more profitable. So that's where we are. That's what we know. And one of the differences I think that we've seen in the way that Tony Khan approaches this question of the media rights deal, the television rights, all this kind of stuff, the difference between what he was saying let's say 2 months ago and now is almost night and day. And it's been building. Tony has been more and more revealing about the fact that, he feels optimistic. It's been kind of like that for a while. He's been wearing the Warner Brothers Discovery hats and the Max hats, and he has been teasing things like there's nobody's business. But lately, and this quote specifically points to the fact that it looks like the deal is happening. And it counters the argument that you have seen online that AEW is going to be canceled. And the funny thing is, right, there's this narrative that is being spun online for some reason that if AEW and WBD don't come to a deal by the end of this month, essentially, or by the end of whatever, that they're going to be thrown off TV, that they're going to be canceled, that they are in danger of being canceled. That is not the case from everything that has been reported, from everything that, we've heard about the situation. WBD wants to keep AEW. That is the reality of the situation. There are going to be those who tell you that's not the case. They're not only going to keep them, but they're going to get a significant increase. Tony Khan is saying this because he already knows this to be true. The way I kind of see this right now is that I think that the majority of the deal has been worked out, and they are probably working on some specifics. And people like to look at these things like TV deals as very simple projects that are essentially transactional. Here's where we are. Here's our ratings. Make us an offer, and then the offer is made, and boom, everyone agrees. That is not how it's done. That is not what happened with WWE. That is definitely not the process they went through when they were negotiating with Fox or USA or what have you. They had a lot of trouble negotiating with Fox, mind you. WWE, there's a reason why they're not sticking around on Fox. Fox is not offering them more money than what they got in their past deal. And that's a whole separate issue and a whole separate topic. But they had to go through a process with Netflix that took months. They had to go through a process with USA that took months to negotiate. Like, these things don't happen overnight. And when you're talking about AEW, which is a new company, which has a fairly new infrastructure, that is really doing this for the first time compared to WWE that has done this, been there, done that kind of, and has people who have been a part of these negotiations, things are going to take longer. And especially when you add in the streaming component of Max. Tony Khan, in that last quote there, where he was talking about streaming, said that he is looking forward to the potential for all of AEW programming to be on Warner Bros. Discovery in some way. To me, that indicates that pay-per-views will end up on Max in some way, shape, or form. I would not expect this, and no one should expect this to happen before the end of the year. And the reason for that is not the deal isn't going to be done before the end of the year. I think the deal is probably going to be announced within the next month or two. But the reason why we are going to have to wait until like next year is because that's when their deal is up. Usually the way this works and the reason why WWE Network isn't switching over to Netflix like immediately now that the deal has been like announced for WWE is because their new deal does not kick in until January with Netflix. So that's when you're going to see all of the WWE programming globally outside of the United States go over to Netflix. That's why it's not happening now. It's happening in January. Same thing with AEW. In January, when their current deal expires and the new deal kicks in, that is when you're probably going to see AEW previous programming go over to Max. I think that's when you're going to see potentially pay-per-views or special events like Battle of the Belts and things like that go over to Max. And the big question remains that we have not heard about is TV and whether or not we are going to have a simulcast. And essentially what I'm talking about there is, are we going to have AEW Dynamite both on Max streaming and also on traditional cable programming? That is the question. If that is the case, I think one good thing for AEW that does do is it takes away the ratings discourse around AEW. It takes away the discourse around like, oh my God, Dynamite ratings are out down this much, but this much, because they're essentially null and void. Much like how in January, the ratings for Raw are going to be null and void. No one's going to know what they are unless Netflix wants to release specific stats. And I think Netflix and WWE are going to be smart about it. I think they're going to like say something like, 10 million people tuned in globally to watch Monday Night Raw this week. I truly believe like that is going to be the types of stats we get. We're not going to get like the Nielsen stats that we get now for Monday Night Raw. And for Raw, that's a good thing because they can kind of control what the ratings are and what, they are putting out there and what the perception is of that show. AEW can do a similar thing. There's a potential there to do a very similar thing in that PR perspective. So we'll see what happens, though. I, again, am telling you guys, it is happening. It will happen. Do not be surprised. And if you are surprised, surprise. Let me know in the comment section, though, what you guys think about this. As we move on to our next topic, let's talk about the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, is getting sued, unfortunately for me. So Post Wrestling reported this, that Cody Rhodes is being sued over the American Nightmare trademark, and there's a potential here that he may need to either pay some money or give this up. Here is an excerpt from the report by Post Wrestling. The full article is in the description, but here it is. In March of 2019, Cody Rhodes applied to register the trademark The American Nightmare for wrestling-related activities. Isold, Wesley Isold, who is a musician, who had registered a similar trademark earlier, opposed Rhodes' application. The parties eventually agreed to a settlement in March of 2021 to resolve the dispute, ultimately allowing Rhodes to register the trademark. At the time, Rhodes was under contract to AEW. He later returned to WWE in 2022, where he continued to use the trademark. Under the settlement terms, Rhodes was allowed to use American Nightmare on his merchandise under the condition that such items prominently used Rhodes' name, likeness, or wrestling-related imagery in a size at least 75% larger than the American Nightmare text. The settlement agreement was provided as an exhibit to Isold's complaint. Additionally, Rhodes agreed to a one-time payment to the musician of $30,000. Isold now claims that Rhodes, WWE, and Fanatics have violated that agreement by selling merchandise items that failed to meet those conditions. According to Isold's lawsuit, many items WWE is selling through Fanatics prominently display the American Nightmare phrase with little or no reference to Rhodes or use of wrestling imagery, which the band leader claims is confusing both fans and his band and WWE fans. Among the other merchandise items that allegedly violated the settlement, Isold specifically points to the Crown t-shirt design, which uses the American Nightmare text and doesn't appear to contain a specific reference to Rhodes' name, likeness, or wrestling-related imagery. Thank you to the good folks over at Post Wrestling for that excerpt. Again, full article in the description of this video. But there you heard it, and there you saw it. The crux of this complaint, this lawsuit that is being filed over the American Nightmare trademark is in regards to the use of the American Nightmare name on WWE and Fanatics merchandise, it would seem, and the way that it violates the agreed upon parameters which Cody was allowed to use. Now, the big question here is, do we believe that the American Nightmare moniker will go away for Cody? It is TBD on that. I find it very hard to believe that neither WWE or Cody would allow that moniker to no longer be associated with Cody, given just how close Cody is to that and how Cody really built his name on that. I think especially for Cody Rhodes, he is going to do everything and anything to keep it. I could see this very easily be settled out of any litigation or what have you. I could very well see some sort of a lump sum payment or royalties potentially being paid, and that would kind of be the end of it. It is interesting, though, when we talk about, trademarks, like WWE recently filed or sent a legal letter to the American Dragon Bryan Danielson over the Yes Chance, claiming that that is their intellectual property, when in reality it's not. But this is an interesting scenario because the American Nightmare moniker is something Cody has used for years that he seems to have come to some sort of settlement with Isold over. But now WWE, which is the new company, and if you look back at AEW merch, they did fit those parameters. The American Nightmare moniker was was not prominent, in a lot of Cody's merchandise back in the day. WWE is going all in on the American Nightmare stuff, and if that is true, and if those are the parameters of the settlement that they agreed upon in March of 2021, Isold's got a point. So, gonna be interesting to see what happens here. Again, my inclination, my feeling about this is that this is going to end up being settled. I don't think WWE or Cody really want to see that moniker go away from him, and I don't think they will. They will figure this out. But hey, man, Isold's about to get a good amount of money, in my view. Shout out to him for that, guys. And finally, let's talk about our last story of the day. Saturday night's main event could be making a return, according to WrestleVotes. Here is the tweet and report from WrestleVotes, quote, WWE is set to announce a live primetime special on NBC in the next few days. While the location remains unknown, sources say tickets are set to go on sale next Friday. We've heard some internal speculation about a Saturday night in December. This will be WWE's first primetime NBC special since August 2nd, 2008, and that is when they brought back Saturday night's main event. They did that over a span of like 2 years, starting in 2006 when they brought back Saturday night's main event. Before that, you have to go back to the early 1990s to find the original series of Saturday night's main event on WWE and NBC programming. But seemed to be the case that they're bringing back this show, Saturday night's main event. I don't believe it's going to be a weekly show. I don't think it's going to be a weekly show. We shouldn't expect it to be a weekly show. It will definitely be a special, as WrestleVotes described. And it's big because it means that NBC, Universal, Peacock, and USA, which are all part of the same conglomerate of NBC Universal, are really going even more so all in on WWE. Shows how strong the relationship is between WWE and NBC Universal. It's always been a very strong relationship, but it comes at a time where, like, you know, we're a good number of years into this Peacock deal. Eventually, WWE will need to renegotiate, and the question is going to be, how strong is the negotiating position with NBC going to be? And I think from the looks of everything, from the looks of how aggressive they were to, quite frankly, overspend on SmackDown, and that is not me saying that SmackDown isn't worth a certain amount in like as far as the product or whatever. That is genuinely an assessment of the market. Like, Fox was not going to pay the any more money than they already paid for SmackDown. They, in fact, didn't want to keep it. They viewed it as a bit of a loss leader. And for NBC Universal, SmackDown is going to be a bit of a loss leader. $1.4 billion for that product is definitely, I think, more than other companies would be paying for that show specifically. But they're doing it for the appeal that USA Network has SmackDown. They have wrestling. They have that flagship to go off of. So the way I see it is, you know, NBC is trying to strengthen that relationship as much as possible with WWE, so that they're going to be in a good position come time to renegotiate that Peacock contract. Come time that, you know, who knows, 5-10 years, whenever there's a lot of what's it called, you know, there's a lot of potential, you know, option years for that the Netflix contract, but it could be 5, could be 10, hell, it could be 20 by the end of the options. But even then, I think getting back Raw is going to be a goal of theirs. I genuinely believe they want to get back Monday Night Raw. That has been nearly an institution for all of USA Network and TNN's existence. So we're going to see, USA Network, TNN is Spike TV. My bad. Brain fart. Anyway, y'all know what I'm talking about. NBC trying to show that they love WWE. Let me know in the comments if you love the idea of Saturday night's main event making a return. I want to hear from all of y'all. Let me know. Also, be sure to comment on these other stories. Cody Rhodes and the trademark. Do you want to see him called the American, the United Nightmare? I don't know what they're going to call him. What would you call Cody Rhodes if he wasn't the American Nightmare? And also, let me know what you guys think about Tony Khan's comments on the AEW WBD deal. Until next time, I'm Omer Q for Real Take Wrestling. Be happy, be healthy, and as always, keep it real.